reason it's called Whip Pediatric Cancer is from the song Watch Me Whip, Watch Me Nae Nae. I posted a 14-second video of myself doing the whip and nae nae in my backyard. My brother recorded it really quickly, and kind of overnight it went viral.
Welcome back to the Childhood Cancer Perspective, and thank you all for sticking with me through this entire journey. And I will start out this podcast just like I do the rest of them. Social media is a love-hate relationship with me and with my family and everything, but it is an incredible tool in networking and collaboration with other organizations and families that are going through this battle of pediatric cancer, and a great way to be able to meet and talk more about their stories and how they became a part of this space or a part of this community, which nobody wants to ever be a part of, but we are proud to have more people in it to speak about it and to help fight for our kids. So today is no exception to that at all. I have Jordan with me, the CEO and founder of Whip Pediatric Cancer. So thank you, Jordan, for being with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And so I've spent some time before looking at the website and looking at everything that you offer and how you started. And it's kind of a unique story, right? It didn't start with pediatric cancer. So tell us a little bit of how you got started with this and where that became kind of a passion for you.
So it's actually a crazy story. My mom was diagnosed with a pediatric cancer, but as an adult. So she was 35 years old, but she was treated on the pediatric cancer floor at Memorial Sloan Kettering. She was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, and that's typically found in boys under 12 years old. She was a female of 35 years old, so it was kind of like they weren't really sure what to do. She was treated at Memorial Sloan Kettering on a clinical trial, and we are very, very lucky that I still have my mom, and she's a survivor of pediatric cancer. And in her honor, I started my own foundation. She kind of always brought us around to help other organizations and try to get back to pediatric cancer community when she got better. And since I was pretty much 2 years old, this has been my life. This is all I've known. And when I was 16, I decided to start my own organization, which is Whip Pediatric Cancer, as you mentioned.
And it has a unique name for a reason, correct?
Yes. So the reason it's called Whip Pediatric Cancer is from the song Watch Me Whip, Watch Me Nae Nae. I was literally sitting on the beach one day and I had my headphones in and I was like, Mom, what do you think if I did kind of like an ice bucket challenge to the Watch Me Whip, Watch Me Nae Nae? And she's like, that's cute. I don't know. And I posted a 14-second video of myself doing the whip and nae nae in my backyard. My brother recorded it really quickly. I posted it on Facebook and I nominated just childhood friends, high school friends, just family to do the dance. And kind of overnight it went viral. And this was before things went viral on TikTok and all that stuff. And all of a sudden I would just have this huge platform and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to keep going with this and keep helping because I had that huge social media presence that I'm very grateful for and very lucky that everything kind of just stuck. So yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Well, it's like I said, social media is a love-hate relationship, but sometimes
yes.
when it goes viral or when it takes off, something like that, it's incredible. And it's incredible the kind of people that you can get to watch what you're doing that may never have thought about this ever in their life, and they come across it. And yeah, it's fun to watch, but then when they start to actually dive into why you're doing it and the reason behind it, it's incredible the support that you can get. And that is, I think, arguably what we need in this community so much is support, especially from people that are not directly connected, because so often it is very easy to change a channel, right, and to move on or keep scrolling. And we are in a way, I think, in our own epidemic really of pediatric cancer that's getting worse by the day, not getting better. And we need people that are supportive and use social media in fun ways or whatever it takes to draw people in. So I think it's great. I think it's, you know what I mean? We think, oh, it's just silly, 14 seconds, but look what it's created, right?
Exactly.
So tell me the types of things that your organization does. I know there's a lot. Like I said, I was scrolling through everything. It kind of happens, right? It turns into just tentacles. It goes everywhere. But tell me some of the things that you guys do.
So it started with the dance, and I started the challenge in August. And in September, Times Square went gold for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Luckily, probably the biggest turning point of with pediatric cancer was meeting Tessa Prothros. She was a neuroblastoma fighter, and she was in New York City getting treatment, but she came in from Michigan, and we kind of hit it off with her. She was a dancer. She was doing the whip, and she was like having the best time of her life, just doing the whip and nae in the middle of Times Square in this like gold dress. And I absolutely fell in love with her. I was like, this is my like soulmate. I just knew it from the second that we met. And Tessa kept saying to her mom, can she come back and visit? Can she come visit? Can she come visit? And I was like, all right, I'm going to turn directions of my foundation and kind of start going on patient visits just because I wanted to see Tessa. So that was part of, that wasn't something that I planned. That kind of just fell in my lap. And I'm so grateful that I did, because I would go see Tessa and I would meet other kids on the floor. And then just through the grapevine, people would know if you're coming into New York City, you have to reach out to a pediatric cancer. And we would bring care packages for the patients, the siblings, try to do, a little bit of everything. My mom would talk to the parents so they understood what their kids were going through, because she actually went through it. So she could tell them, this chemo makes you feel like this, or this might make them feel tired or hungry or whatever is going on in their body that a 4-year-old can't explain. She understood because she was 35 when she went through it. So that was one direction. So we do patient visits, care packages, we mail care packages, hospital visit, home visits. So that's one branch. Then obviously lack of funding. It's a huge thing. My mom was saved by a clinical trial. So, if it weren't for people doing research and trying things, she might not have been here today. So research is super important. I'm in a team affiliated with Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York City. So right now we're funding a CAR T-cell trial for neuroblastoma, Ewing sarcoma, and just really trying to raise funds for that. We've raised over $1 million for pediatric cancer research at Sloan Kettering. Sorry, this is so much, and then it all kind of goes hand in hand. There's research and then there's quality of life. I always wanted to do, a little bit of both. So we've also raised over $1 million for families to pay mortgages, car payment, food, hospital bills, rent, whatever they need that month. We kind of have helped them with finances like that, as well as kind of doing like a Make-A-Wish type of thing, concerts, rockets. This past weekend we did Christmas. We adopted a family. We completely renovated her playroom, her living room, her bedroom, and just kind of doing everything. I know most foundations pick one or the other, but I'm so passionate about it, and it kind of all goes together for me. So I'm like, as you said, a lot of the kids don't make it, and that was really, really hard pill for me to swallow. I started this when I was 16. I've been probably to 75 funerals in the last 10 years, and have spoken at almost all of them. That's not normal, and I wanted to actually do something that gave these kids that quality of life, that memory that I know if they're not here anymore, that with pediatric cancer was able to not cure them, but give them that experience that could have been the best day of their life. So those are the different branches of with pediatric cancer.
So I'll just say, like, is there anything that you don't do, I guess?
Trying to think. Really, we try to cover all the bases, and I love it. This is just a volunteer thing for me. I have a regular full-time job, so wherever I can help, I'm there, I'm doing, and just trying to make the community just a little bit better.
No, I think what you're doing is amazing, and I think that we're a lot alike, to be honest with you, because my wife knows that she knows that something's wrong if I sit down, essentially. Yeah. Like, I'm always on the move. And when we started our organization, it was just care packages. And that's, we still do that today. That's still the core of what we do. But it's also seemed to branch out into advocacy, into legislation, into raising money for research. It's just, all those avenues keep presenting themselves to you because you see where it's lacking in all those different areas, and you have to get involved in it in order to make a difference. But the only way we're going to do that is all together, right? Yes. Everybody working together, saying the same thing. The patient visits, I think, are really cool. And the fact that you can get there and get involved, and your mom can be kind of that, I understand, right? Because a lot of people, when you go through this, when there's a diagnosis, especially with a child, everybody will say, I understand what you're going through. I understand. No, you really don't, unless you've been a part of it.
Yeah.
And for somebody to be able to be there. And the really cool thing is that a lot of kids that I've spoken to, a lot of families, there are kids that go through this as a child, grow up and go into the medical field. They want to be a part of that change, and they have that connection that can now relate to people in a way that not everybody can. So having that, and putting parents at ease, or even putting children at ease and taking their mind off of what they're going through every day is such an important piece of that. Because I know for us, we were on an island with a diagnosis. When our daughter was diagnosed, we have nobody to turn to, nobody to ask questions, no resources aside from what you get from your social worker. But, for us, 5 years ago, the resources even today are way more than what they were 5 years ago, and now being a part of all this and meeting everybody and that does all this on a daily basis, and again, does it as in their free time, if you will.
Yes.
I say that if I have 2 seconds to rub together, it's incredible,
Yeah, seriously.
So it's a passion, right?
Yes.
And it's to have that passion to give back to something that you probably didn't expect your life to be today. Maybe your life was going to be exactly the way it is right now, but you weren't going to be advocating for this.
Yeah.
But you were meant to be a voice. And I feel that way about myself. I was meant to be a voice for this. But I really didn't expect it, and I wish I didn't have to understand going through all of this. But let's think. So tell us more. Now, like I said, I was reading through this, and I was scrolling through, and it really seems like, and you had mentioned, Tessa, it was kind of the passion now behind what you do, kind of that driving force. So I would love to hear more about her just as a person and how she really, what she did, her attitude, the aura about her that really kind of drives you today and what pushed you into this even more.
So Tessa was like, when you just think of I just think of magic when I think of her. She was super spunky. She was very fashionable. She had her own, she just kind of would do her own thing. Like, she wasn't a follower. She was a leader. All the kids loved her. Everyone wanted to be like her, including me. I just looked up to her so much, even though she's younger than me. She was truly one of the best people I've ever met in my whole life. I think we're taught that soulmates are in a partner. When you grow up, you meet your soulmate, and I feel super lucky that I got to meet mine, not in a partner, but in her. And I truly believe that she has been the catalyst for a lot of what With Pediatric Cancer has done. Just a few weeks ago, we took 2 little girls to see the Radio City Rockettes, and we actually went with Tessa's sister and cousin and mom and aunt. And I just kept thinking, I'm like, none of this would have been possible if it weren't for her, because she's really the reason why I got so into it. And when she passed away, there's an option to crawl into a hole and never come back to this world, which I thought about a lot of times. But I was like, I got to do this for her. There's other kids that need help and other kids that would benefit from the same support that I was able to give to Tessa. And I just really think that a lot of this has continued because of her. I believe in angels and I believe in signs, and we look for dimes from Tessa, so we find them everywhere. And if I'm thinking something like, should I keep doing this, or there's a big life decision, or I'm having a bad day, I look down, I'll be in a Chipotle and there's 1 dime, or there's just 1 dime in the most random spot in the airport or just anywhere. And I just truly think that she's looking out for my organization, and she's putting all these people in my path. Somebody said to me, they were like, if it's your calling, it won't break you. And I really think that this is my calling to make these kids happy.
I think you're right, and I 100% believe in faith and the signs, and I don't believe in coincidence. So let's put it that way. And it's the same kind of thing. Like with our daughter, we know that there are signs that she's still here with us. We know there's signs that she's around, and when we need her the most, and we see certain things that kind of remind us of her. And I know that there's no way that I would have met this person or that person if it were not for her. There's no reason that I would have been in their path and met them. And it really, truly is incredible. And it's also incredible what these children in such a short amount of time can do. And when you were speaking also about the patient visits, what I was kind of thinking of at that same moment is that if anybody in this world just takes 5 minutes out of their day and speaks to one of these children, it will change your perspective on life.
Yes.
It will it just absolutely puts you in a different mindset, because no matter what they're going through, they're not always smiling. Let's be real, but it doesn't change their personality. It doesn't change who they are. And they're so incredibly innocent that what they're going through, it doesn't make them hate. It doesn't make them the same people they are. And what I will also say, and I don't think this is unique to our daughter. I think it's unique to this community, is that these kids, no matter what age they are, our daughter passed when she was 8. They worry about us. How are we going to be when they pass? How are we going to be when they're not here? They're not worried about themselves, and that's that genuine heart, and that's what I think. I think what you're trying to do, and I think what we're trying to do, is to save those genuine hearts. And hopefully, I want to see more of that injected into our world today. Yeah. Because there's so much going on a daily basis, whether it's whether it's foreign policy, whether it's politics, whatever. There's so much going on, and if we just had that genuine innocence, nothing would matter so much. We wouldn't be always upset and arguing with each other, and we could all have different opinions, and it would be okay. And I think that's what we miss the most when we lose more of these kids. Yeah. So when congratulations, number one. I jump around a lot. That's just the way my brain works. But congratulations on the amount of money that you've been able to raise and put into research and things like that. How do you go about raising that money? What do you do in order to do that? Do you actually have maybe donors or companies that work with you or things like that? So you'll have to explain a little bit to me so maybe I can figure out how to do it too.
Okay, awesome. So I was 16 when I started with Pediatric Cancer, so it's still technically a kid. And I was like, how can I get other kids involved helping kids, like that kids helping kids concept? And, kids don't really most kids don't think past themselves. So I was like kind of like the outlier, like in school, I was always like, after school, people were going out on a Friday night and drinking and partying. And I was like, Mom, bring me to the hospital. I have to visit 10 kids. Like that was just me. And I was very different. And our neighbors and stuff would like call my mom and be like, can Jordan teach my kid how to be charitable or something like that? And that's not something that you're just, taught. I think it's, it starts all the way at the bottom when you're a baby. It's something that has to be like instilled in you that this is part of you. And that's what my parents did to me. They always brought us to help kids that were less fortunate than us. And so I started doing fundraising mostly through schools. So we have our Heart of Gold program where we send my logo. It's like a gold paper heart, and the kids have to write their name on it, decorate it, and just bring back a $2 donation. So it shows that you don't need to donate $5,000 to make an impact. If there's 1,000 kids in the school and everybody brings in $1, that's $1,000. So that's a lot of money that you could contribute in a small way. So there's a lot of good lessons there. It's kids helping kids. Your change can literally change the world, and just teaching them about pediatric cancer when they're, 5, instead of them being an adult and being like, I didn't know what the gold ribbon was. I only knew breast cancer. Like that shouldn't be an excuse anymore. They should be taught that that's just, September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So we try to do that every September, and that's where we raise a majority of our money. The other, big thing, that's mostly for research. And then the other big way that I've been raising money is through Facebook. I put up like a donate button, and I'll share a story and say, this little girl has to get an organ transplant and their family is going to be traveling, and this, anything donated under this post will go to this family, or this person is on hospice and anything donated will go here. And people seem to really, really step up with those. And that's how I've been able to write, $1,000 check to a family that covers their mortgage for the month or something like that. So those are the two main avenues of fundraising.
Well, honestly, I love the fact that, the people look at it enough and pay attention enough to actually want to get involved in it.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, it is, and I will just speak for myself and other organizations that I know personally, that it's difficult to raise money for kids, right? And honestly, I don't understand why it is. You think it would be easy, and honestly, I think, dark humor a little bit, so we joke when we raise money throughout the year and we host our events and stuff, that if we were doing this for animals, we'd be making millions.
Yeah, which is so messed up.
Yeah, I don't get it, at the same time, but when I look at it, I wish that the commercials that we see for kids kind of mirrored what you see for animals, and I think it would give them a better insight, because it's not cancer's not fun, right? It's not smiling. It's not happy. Yes, you can be happy. You can be happy to see the people that make you feel comfortable, and you can be happy to see nurses that make you feel like, you don't have to be so scared about everything. But the reality is, it's a scary situation. When you hear those words, it's not something that I think as parents in general are built for. And I don't think we're built to bury our kids either. We're not made for that. And to watch, I think that what we see in our personal experiences, and even what you've seen with your mom and what you've seen with Tessa, right, and 75 funerals, that's an insight that people, I believe, honestly, truly need to hear. I think that's the words. I mean, it's great to share all the successes of kids getting to their 5 years, kids getting to the end of the treatments, ringing the bell and all of that. But at the same time, that ringing the bell, I think it really has this great, beautiful cloud over it that I think makes it not so wonderful. Our daughter rang the bell too. You know what I mean? And she's not here. So it's like, it's a great accomplishment. And I don't want to take that away from anybody. But at the same time, we really have got to highlight the bad stuff, because that's where we really are. And that's why you have to raise money. Like, you should be out there just living your life, not worried about all of these things that are happening behind the scenes. And I truly believe, and you'll have to tell me what your thoughts are, but I truly believe that companies say no to donating because this way they don't have to attach themselves to it. And if they say yes, well, then they have to almost admit that there's an issue, And that's kind of what we feel.
It's tough too, because it's like they rely on the people that are in it to donate and to fund these trials and the research and all that. It's like, it's not like the NFL is going gold, and that would be so easy for them. It's the families that have been affected by it are the ones that are starting these nonprofits. The people that lost their child are the ones delivering care packages. And, it shouldn't be like that you have to be affected to do something. It should be, oh my gosh, these are kids that are literally dying. For me, I'm not a parent of a child with cancer, but I've seen from day of diagnosis, and in March, for the first time, saw one of my kids pass away. And I have seen everything in between diagnosis and end of life. I tell my friends, or I post, and it's, oh, that's so sad, but not a donation, or oh, I don't know how you do it, or that's terrible. And then they just go on with their life. And to me, that's like very frustrating, because I'm like, how can they not just donate like $5 or like $10, because maybe that kid that passed away would still be here. And I always I just did Christmas for this little girl, and we did an Amazon wish list, and then in the packages it said, this was donated by whoever. And I'm reading through the names, and I'm like, I don't even know any of these people. And I called my mom. I'm like, we didn't know one person that got something off of the Amazon wish list. And I'm like, that's just crazy to me that people that, that are supporting the foundation are just complete strangers. And the people, that are hearing about this every day, they just kind of like scroll past it, or it's not important to them. And that absolutely blows my mind. But we're super fortunate for the people that do support, and people that continue to support for all of these years. I mean, a lot of people have asked me, how do you do it? How do you do it? And I don't really have an answer besides the following that I have. I got so lucky, and they truly are amazing followers. I don't like to say it like that. I'm not profiting off of the social media or anything like that, but I have a very loyal following, and I'm very, very lucky for that.
Yeah, no, I think there's something to be said about the kindness of strangers, and that they want to reach out and step up. And when I look at that, and I go back and say that I still have on my phone from 4 years ago now, I have text messages from people that I have no idea who they are, that when our daughter passed, that they reached out and said, your story touched us, and we followed you on Facebook, and I said no names. And so the kindness of strangers is great, but at the same time, like you said, you have a family, or you have followers, you have friends, people that you were expecting. And it's like, we don't want to talk bad, because you are following, you are supporting in that way, and sharing and things like that actually does a lot to get our story out there. But, we kind of, maybe we expect more from the people that truly know our story from the inside out.
Yeah.
But support is a big thing that, especially when you're immersed in it personally, that goes away when we have the you rang the bell or your hair grows
Your
back,
hair
so
came back,
everything,
yeah.
yeah, it's like, oh well, you must be okay then, so let's go away. Or you have people that just don't know how to talk to you, so they
Yeah.
just go away because they
Yeah.
think that's best, and I think that's the worst thing
It's
you can
actually
do.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they treat you differently, and it's like I just want to be treated the same as everybody else. And I noticed this too, like after I lost a little girl in March that I was very, very close to. And I would like see my friends and they were like acting different towards me. Like they kind of would like walk the other way in the grocery store, and I'm like, I just knew they didn't know what to say. I am 26, and most people my age have never seen anything like this. Most people ever have never seen anything like this, but especially in their 20s, they're like they just didn't know what to say, and I would be so upset. I'm like, why aren't they talking to me? And they just really don't know what to say. It's like, what do you say about a child dying from cancer? You know, it's like the strangest concept. It's so unfair. It's so uncomfortable to talk about, but these are things that do need to be spoken about because that's the only way that won't happen anymore. So it is a very tough subject.
Yeah, it's listen. It's not. I don't want to have to talk about it every
Yeah.
single day. You know, it's not something that I woke up and decided this is what I want to do. But at the same time, you know, when anybody asks, or if somehow it comes up in conversation, or you know, it's easy for me. If it says how many kids do you have, well, I always am going to have 3 girls, 100%. You know, okay, I've got one that's 19, one that's 17, and one that's 8 forever, and she's in heaven. And the first thing is, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I want you to ask. I want you to talk to me. I love talking about JC. I love doing it because she absolutely, you know, if you're a faithful person, we believe that she was on loan to us from God.
Yes.
We were never supposed to have her for her full life. She was just put here to put us on a path and show us things that we may never have seen and be a guiding light for us. And now that's what she does. But I love talking about it. But people have to normalize being okay with asking the questions and understanding that you're not going. I would actually rather you say the wrong thing to me.
Yeah.
And let me correct you. Like, you're not going to offend me except unless you decide to just ghost me, because then that, you know, to me, that's like, this is not contagious. You know what I mean? And we are broken people in a sense, but we're not damaged goods. Like, we're still the same people we were. But we just went through something tragic. And, you know, we obviously don't want to be known as the parents whose daughter had cancer. And my other 2 daughters don't want to be known as the girls whose sister had cancer. And, you know, when my oldest daughter went off to high school, it was a public school versus private school. And she told nobody because she didn't want to be labeled, you know. And I'm sure it's the same thing. You don't want that girl, her mom's got cancer, right? You know, and
Yeah.
because that doesn't make you different. You know what I mean? You're going through something, and it's a shame that you almost feel like you have to change who you are in order to be accepted when you didn't do anything wrong, and neither did she.
Yeah.
You know, but
But on the flip side too, it's hard that we've seen this and then we try to like assimilate into regular life, because I'm just like be at a dinner table with like a bunch of people and they're talking and they're complaining, and I'm like, how are you complaining right now? Like, I don't understand what they don't understand, that what's going on down the block in that big hospital right there on the oncology floor, what these families are going through, like what we've seen, being advocates, you being a parent of a child with cancer. It's like, you know, the things that people are complaining about. Oh, it took too long for my Uber Eats, or, you know, I couldn't find a parking spot at Target. You're like, give me a break. Like, you know, there's way worse things. And I think for me, that's a tough pill to swallow too, because I'm trying to like fit in with people that don't understand a huge portion of my life and what I've seen. And it does change you, I think, for the better, you know, knowing that every day is a gift and you're not guaranteed forever. But I do also believe that these kids, they're sent to us for X amount of time, and they only need the number of years that they were here to make an impact. Some people will take 100 years to leave a mark on the world. Some people it takes 50, and some people it takes 8. Tessa was 9. And I truly believe, you know, we are the lucky ones that we got to experience these people in their short time. So, it's hard to even say out loud, but it is really true.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, and that sat with me, and it's the one thing that sat with me out of our daughter's entire funeral service was what was said at that moment. And I hadn't cried the entire service. I think I was out of tears at that point, to be honest with you. But the one thing that was said by the pastor, he said, she got to heaven's gates and looked up and said, "But I only had 8 years." And then Jesus looked at her and said, "But look what you did in those 8 years." So that makes me get emotional but that's the one spot when I think I knew that she was going to be okay, because I knew that impact, but I didn't realize the full extent of that impact until after she passed, because that's when I started to notice more and more people that would reach out, different people that I had never spoken to, different people that have said that they've followed her story. And even today, we still have people that I've never met in real life, that are just on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, that say, "We still follow your story. We watch what you do. We still think about JC. She makes an impact on our life." And it's incredible, because that makes me probably the most proud father in the world. I mean, my other 2 daughters, they do things on their own that make me proud, but knowing that my kids are going to make an impact on the world that you're going to remember, then I know that my wife and I did the right things, that we put them on the right path. But this is definitely not where we thought we would be at this moment, but it's definitely it's a passion and a love, and it's something that we are, I think, all of us in this space, the complete opposite of what a business is. Like, we want to go out of business. We want to be done, close shop, call it a day, and say we finally have created something that is going to end what we know as this terrible, terrible thing. You mentioned that you had either you were funding, or you were working to fund or CAR T-cell, which is kind of seeming to be like the new hot thing within cancer treatments, that might be the ticket that we need in order to see more of these children get past that 5 years and just go on to live a better life. So tell us a little bit about that, or the specific, you said it's going at Sloan Kettering, correct?
Yes. So when I first started my foundation, I was trying to decide where I wanted to allocate the funds to. And I was like, research. It's all I want to do is research. And I would kind of just donate into like a general pool of pediatric cancer. It didn't have like anything super specific. It was just, going to whatever they needed. And then I lost Tessa, and I was like, I only want to do neuroblastoma. Like, I need to do all neuroblastoma funding, just because I don't want anyone to feel the way I feel right now after losing her. So I called Sloan Kettering. I'm like, everything's going to neuroblastoma. Just put it all in the neuroblastoma, whatever you're doing for it, please put it there. And we were able to fund the bivalent antibody trial. And one of my favorite kids, Elijah, he was the first to try the bivalent antibody trial. And he is still fighting. Like you said, me and his mom were talking about it the other day. His hair is back, but he is still fighting, and he has been fighting since he was 3 years old. He's now a teenager. I've known him for 10 years. And he's really never had a lull in treatment, but he did try that bivalent antibody. So that was a very cool experience. And then as time went on, I was getting extremely frustrated with the lack of results I was seeing from funding. I was like, I don't understand why all these kids are dying. I giving all this money to research, and I know it's not just with Pediatric Cancer funding the research. There's other organizations that are funding research all over the country. And I kind of just was like, I don't want to do research anymore. Like, I'm over it. I don't understand. And I kind of shifted gears to do more quality of life things. And then after seeing this little girl pass away in March, I was like, I want to get back on the fundraising. And it was my 10th year for With Pediatric Cancer. And the head of pediatric cancer research at Memorial Sloan Kettering, he actually emailed me, and he's like, it's your 10 years. I want to get on a call. And we were talking a little bit, and he remembered Tessa, and he knew my mom's story. And he's like, I have to tell you something. He's like, there's this CAR T-cell trial. I'm trying to get it into the clinic in the next 18 months. I need to raise $3 million to $5 million to push it into the clinic. He's like, it funds neuroblastoma and Ewing sarcoma. and all the other sarcomas, and just a bunch of the tumors fall under this. He said we're already using it for blood cancer, leukemia, and having a lot of success with it. And I just think this would be like something that you would be passionate about. And I'm like, say less. So I've been, working my butt off to try to raise as much as I can to contribute to that $3 million that he's looking for. We were just listed as one of MSK's like biggest donors, which was really, really cool. And I just, in September, I reached out to like all these small businesses. I was like, I'm trying to raise $3 million in 18 months. Like, will you donate? Will you give, $1 from every sale in September? And everyone's like, yes, yes, yes. So, I just been trying to raise as much money to help him with that. And it sounds super, super promising. And I also just love that it would help not just my neuroblastoma kids, but also the kids that have sarcomas and other cancers. It just, jumped off the page to me, and it was kind of like a no-brainer. And I, would like to see some advancement in, these tougher cancers like neuroblastoma and all the sarcomas. So, I was like, let me do, as much as I can. And I've been in touch with him, and, all the research he sends me and all the things that I've read and looked on ChatGPT and AI, I'm like, this might be it. And researchers that I know that are on my board, they're like, this is super, super promising. So I've just, kind of been focused on that.
Listen, I hope with everything that we can hope that you get what you need to them so that they can push this forward through clinical trials and stuff. It really is honestly a shame that organizations, families, parents have to shoulder the weight.
It's crazy.
Of this money. And honestly, when you really, in the grand scheme of things, $3 million is not that much money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you look at, okay, I'm not going to jump on the millionaires and billionaires type thing. Like, it is what it is. Like, you made your money. You don't have to give it to anybody. But when you look at the types of things that are funded out there, and we are looking at $3 million. It's not that big of a deal, and they shouldn't have to be scrounging and begging and pleading. Yeah, it's unreal, but listen, I think you've got the formula figured out, and I think you've got it to the point where people are on board with you. And I love, I am all for small business before corporations. I really am, because the only reason they exist is because of the community, right? The corporations, their next dollar is not going to change their life, but small businesses, they rely on us. And if we can rely on each other to make these things happen and do it for a good cause on top of that, it makes everybody feel good. I'll say all day long that if a corporation writes a check to us or puts some money towards our events, to be donated, and they're only doing it because it's a tax write-off, I don't care. Okay.
You're like, keep your money at that point.
It's like, it doesn't, like, that kind of stuff doesn't really, I want you to do it because you care. I want you to write those checks because you feel like it's the way to go. We recently got a donation from a credit union because they had money to spend before the end of the year, but they were able to let their teams pick organizations in the community. And they, you know what I mean? And they reached out, they said, hey, we've got this money for you. And we said, phenomenal, because that's going to allow us to do so much for the next year.
And it means nothing to them. It's like, we had the same situation. We opened an envelope and there was like a $10,000 grant, and everyone was like, where did this come from? I'm like, I don't know. And it was same thing. It was nominated within the company, and these big companies, they have $10,000 to just send to you. And for me to raise $10,000 on my own would have taken so long. And I actually posted it on Facebook, like, who works here and who nominated, because I want to thank you, because it really like changes, what we are able to do with $10,000 is insane. And we actually used some of that money to take this little girl, Charlie, to see the Radio City Rockettes. And it was, one of her core memories now. And it's not a ton of money to them, but it's a ton of money to us. And it's so helpful.
Yeah. I don't think people truly realize what, $10,000, what you can do with that money. And as a nonprofit, how far you're going to stretch that $10,000, you are going to make it work. That's the true meaning of making your money work for you. You are going to make it work for everything you can do. And when you get, We did actually a couple of years ago. It was the same thing. We had gotten a check from an organization. It was $10,000. The same thing. Had no idea how it had even happened. It just showed up, and it was crazy. But it was the same thing. It was they had an outreach program, and people nominated us, and we received the money. But it's incredible because I think, if we break it down and you look at the expense, like I'm actually doing our year-end stuff now, like if you break it down at the expenses, what you use it for, we don't take salaries. I had somebody I was talking to the other day, and she was for certain that my wife and I took salaries for that. I said, no, we don't. I said, everything we get goes right back into this. We don't write ourselves. We could technically, right? But we don't. Because, and I actually have a real problem with organizations that pay themselves salaries.
Don't even get me started.
I have a real issue with that because I don't know how you can then call yourself a nonprofit if you're making whatever you're making. And if you're making millions, that's a whole other conversation to have.
Yeah.
Because that's right. And there's several where their CEOs of an organization are making that $3 million you need in order to push forth a clinical trial or new treatments that could make a massive difference in the life expectancies and the quality of life of these kids. Because when you want to watch what traditional 70-year-old chemos do to these kids, you see what they do to adults, but at least the adults can express to you what's happening and can regulate it. Where the kids, it's horrifying. And it's the side effects, right? It's the side effects when they say, okay, well, you're going to get this chemo, it's going to save your life, you're going to this, that, and the other, but you're going to lose your hair, your hearing, you're never going to have kids, your growth is going to be stunted, your mental capacity could change, your life expectancy could change. A million different things could happen, but don't worry, you'll be alive.
Yeah.
It's really sad because I think, and we coined something before we went to Washington, D.C. in September, which was think beyond the 5. Because I think we look at it and say, when you hit 5 years, you're technically cured of cancer. If you have no cancer cells or NED or any of that, you're technically cured. But what does that mean? Does that mean everything's okay, that you're done and you just move on? And then we go back to the support falling off because you feel like, well, you're 5 years cancer free, so good luck out there.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's the complete opposite. I think that's when, it's either when you ring the bell or when you hit that 5 years. I really do think that's when the fight really starts because you're then fighting to keep it away.